What's up, everybody? Mike here, and in this Baldur's Gate 3 video, I'll be showcasing my Pyro Warlock build. And before I go into the specifics of this build, I want to go into a more in-depth discussion and best races for it, background, etc. So that way you guys have a better understanding of a Warlock in Baldur's Gate 3. So first up, let's talk about the races I think would be best for a Warlock class, and that being Githyanki, because of the Astral Knowledge class action Githyanki's get, which gains proficiency in all skills of a chosen ability until long rest. That's very strong and very useful with this type of class. You can also get the cantrip Githyanki Sonic's Mage Hand as well too, to utilize in certain situations to help you, get through certain paths, doorways, puzzle solving, etc. Then you have the race features here with the racial speed of 9 meters, and then Martial Prodigy. Lifelong of relentless training gave you armor proficiency with light and medium armor, as well as proficiency with the short sword, long sword, and great sword. So like if you want to go with maybe a battle warlock, with some a good melee as well as spellcasting, you could do that. This is a Pyro Warlock focused build right now. But more so, and what's important about this is the medium armor proficiency, so you can have some better, protection basically with your armor class, and high armor class with that, so that way you're not as squishy. Next, there is the Half-Elf. I recommend would be another great class for Warlock, because Civil Militia, you have weapon proficiency with spears, spikes, halberds, and glaives, armor proficiency with light armor and shields. So if you want to be tanky in a different way, or at least have better defenses in a different way, using light armor and shields instead of just with the medium armor with the Githyanki, this is the route you can go with then instead, which can be very cool and useful to you. And then you got Darkfish as well here, as well to help you out seeing dark places. And that means you wouldn't have to necessarily pick up Devil's Sight. Then there's Fey Ancestry as well. You have advantage on saving throws against being charmed, and magic can't put you to sleep. Very useful in certain combat situations where enemies try to put you to sleep. Human is another great choice here for its race features to Militia as well. It's having some in similarity with the Half-Elf, but more importantly, the Human Versatility race feature. Select additional skill to be proficient in. Your carrying capacity is increased by a quarter as well. So very good and useful there if you want to select an additional skill to be proficient in, which are skill sets here that can better utilize yourself in either combat situations or even more so outside of combat. And then the last one I recommend race-wise is the Half-Orc. You get Dark Vision with Half-Orc as well. But with the Half-Elf, you don't necessarily need to pick up Devil's Sight then. But then again, Devil's Sight might be a better choice to pick up because you can see up to 24 meters instead of 12. Then you also got relentless endurance. If you reach 0 hit points, you regain 1 hit point instead of becoming downed. And savage attacks, when you land a critical hit with a melee weapon attack, your damage dice are tripled instead of doubled. So if you want to go more of like a battle warlock type of build, and even then to a degree, because in my Power Warlock build I'm gonna talk about here, you can do a bit of be a hybrid of melee and ranged spellcasting. So this is a good choice for that as well too. Now let's talk about background and skills here. Combine these two a bit, because what I think is the best background choice for a Warlock, regardless of what build you go through, is Guild Artisan. You get a +2 with Wisdom here because of the insight, and then a +5 to your Charisma dice rolls because of Persuasion. Persuasion, and I would argue also Intimidation, are going to be your most important with this type of class. So because if you are playing a custom Warlock character, then you're going to be handling most of the dialogue situations, and Intimidation is going to help with that, and Persuasion as well too in those situations. And so it'd be helpful as well too. And then you can swap out these here. You don't necessarily have to have Arcana or History here. In all honesty, I would swap out the skill here instead of Arcana and History. Go for Deception to add in there instead of one of these. So get rid of one of these or both and go for Deception to add on to Insight, Intimidation, and Persuasion. For your abilities, you want to allocate this appropriately that best suits the Warlock build to what I have here. So just copy and paste this. As you can see here, I got Strength at 8, Dexterity at 14 for good Dexterity checks, as well as a better initiative when it comes to battles as too. That Dexterity helps with that, so you can go first more often sometimes in combat situations. Constitution I have at 16 here to help with a higher health pool and make yourself a bit more tanky so you're not as squishy. And then Intelligence at 10 Wisdom at 10. Wisdom at 10, even though I know Wisdom is the other ability that factors into saving throws with the Warlock. It's not as important as Charisma though, and there's things you can do, you know, in the game that can help better allocate that item-wise or equipment-wise like that, etc. Charisma though, with being your top priority ability stat, instead of leaving at 17, I brought it down to 16 to help make things even across the board. Charisma is your main ability that you're going to allow you to do the most damage with and help you in dialogue situations too. So this is the primary focus of this. You can always improve this later on, you know, with ability improvement, which get that feat if you so choose, and other things like gear and items. With the Pyro Warlock build here, starting at level 1, as far as the build into it, you will get the cantrip Eldritch Blast, and I suggest True Strike. Eldritch Blast, 1 to 10 damage, conjure level map value, Eldritch Blast, beam of crackling energy. True Strike, because you gain advantage on your next attack roll 2 turns. You want to use True Strike first and then Eldritch Blast so you never miss, essentially. And this is like one of the few classes you can choose your subclass early on, so we're going to go into the Fiend for this Pyro Warlock build. And then you actually want to go with Arms of Hadar, but take Armor of Agathis off. I'm probably butchered that, sorry. Put Burning Hands on. You want to go Burning Hands and then Arms of Hadar as your 2 early spells here for Pyro Warlock. You also get the class feature I forgot to mention earlier, Warlock spell slots. You gain Warlock spell slots, so that's basically self-explanatory there. All right, so at level 2, you get another Warlock spell slot gained, and you gain a spell. Now, so since we're going Pyro, you want to go and pick up Hellish Rebuke. It does 2 to 20 damage. React to your next attacker with flames that deal 2 to 20 fire damage. I'll say a target still takes half damage, so it's very good as a reaction spell. When it comes to your Eldritch invocations, though, I suggest Agonizing Blast. Reason being, passive feature. When you cast Eldritch Blast, add your Charisma modifier to the damage it deals unless it is negative. So essentially, you're going to be doing more damage with this. Now, this next one is up to you for early game usage, but if you decide to go with this, I highly recommend you respec later on, like when you're maybe like level 6. Fiendish Vigor. You can cast False Life on yourself at will as a level 1 spell without expending a spell slot. So False Life grants you 7 temporary hit points. This is good, I would say, early on if you decide to go this route. I wouldn't necessarily recommend this late game though, like when you're like level 7 and beyond, because it's not going to stack up, and 7 points of temporary health or hit points is just not going to really matter when you're, you know, fighting level 7 and above enemies. It's just not. So what I recommend instead is Repelling Blast, because this thing, oh my god, it just buffs Eldritch Blast even more so. When you hit a creature with Eldritch Blast, you can push the creature up to 4.5 meters away from you. The reason being why this is so good is I've been in many situations where, you know, I use True Strike, right? Sometimes I don't have to always use True Strike, but times I do. I'll use True Strike, and then that helps my attack throws hitting next turn, and an enemy is near an edge or somewhere, or cliff or somewhere where I can essentially kill them by pushing them off of Eldritch Blast. Oh, it is hilarious, and it's amazing doing that. So that's what I personally recommend for this build. Agonizing Blast combined with Repelling Blast to not only do a lot of damage, but also push your enemies off in funny fashion. And then here at level 3, you get improved Warlock spells. Most of your Warlock spells have become stronger, so you're even doing more damage when you do hit. You gain a spell as well. So here I recommend you pick up Scorching Ray to keep with the Pyro theme of this build. It's very useful. With Scorching Ray, you do 6 to 36 damage, hurl 3 rays of fire. Each ray deals 2 to 12 fire damage. So just keep that in mind. And it's level 2 Warlock spell. And what's this really good for is, if you got a really tough enemy, you focus this on that one enemy or you can head up to 2 or 3 that are maybe close to death or something like that. They're not as tough to deal with. When it comes to your pack boon, I recommend Pact of the Blades for situations where you got to go a little bit melee, even though melee is not your primary focus with this build. But this is very good to utilize when you need to, honestly, in case you do get, snuck upon or caught up by a melee attacker that's close up to you. You can get them out your grill. But with this, you can opt for Pack of the Chain, which essentially gain the service of a familiar, a faith spirit that takes the form of your choosing. This can be an animal, imp, or quasit. So this can be useful as well too to kind of help keep you protected from those like enemies that are close upon you. You can utilize this to help out. So either one is good. I just personally prefer the Pact of the Blade over Pact of the Chain. But then again, there's other variations of this build you can do. You don't just have to do this one. So those will be coming soon in the future. Stay tuned for that for sure. With Pact of the Blade, though, you get summon a weapon to your hand. It uses the wielder's spellcasting ability modifier, and its damage is magical. And then you also get bind pack weapon, bind to your main hand weapon. Its damage becomes magical. You cannot drop or throw it, and you become proficient with it if you weren't already. This is until long rest, so keep that in mind. For the equipment here for Will at level 3, you may not necessarily get all this right away like I do or did. You start off with a rapier. It's a common one. So as soon as you can, get a better version of the rapier. I just chose to stick rapier on had to because he is proficient in other weapons. Just make sure you check the character sheet here and you make sure, check this because he's got some weapons and martial weapons he's, part of. So just make sure you check these out. But I decided to stick with rapier. You're going to stick with the common one for a while until you find something better with him. And if you can, you eventually will find the Sword of Screams, which adds more damage output, 3 to 13 damage. But don't worry about this if you don't have this one at all, or if you decide to use a different uncommon one. This isn't necessarily build specific as far as needing the Sword of Screams for this build to work. It's just with this one, it does psychic damage. Plus 1d4 psychic damage extra. But yeah. You were going to mostly probably stick with his default until you get Mistress Grace, which actually could more so go on Gale, but I decided to put it on him to give Featherfall as a extra spell he can use about certain situations. So this is very situational. You don't necessarily need to have this on him. You can have something else that maybe fits this Pyro Warlock playstyle a bit better than this. I decided to put this on, so I'm not always using potions or scrolls, even though I have a ton of scrolls here for him, but you get the idea. And then pad armor +2, which is armor class 13 here. It helps with him. Gives superior padding. Take 2 less bludgeoning damage. So this is one you can possibly pick up at level 3. But if not, don't worry about it. You'll get it as you level up more and progress. And it can be going to your level 6 build. I'll showcase here in a bit. But I'll probably be repeating myself quite a bit just because of that. Haste Helm you get pretty early on though, which you should be able to put on him. Haste Helm. Smooth start. At start of combat, the wearer gains momentum for 3 turns. This is very good because you definitely want to keep him on the move. Now, if you're in a situation where you didn't have the time or didn't take the time to use hide before the combat started to get him in the high ground position somewhere, because he is a caster in a day and he's going to be better at offensive casting more than melee anyway. If you didn't, this is a good way to try and get him out of a bad situation because he has extra momentum to move faster. And you want to keep him on the move anyway. Keep him out of harm as best as possible. Get him in the right position to do damage and kill enemies quicker with his offensive casting spells. Eldritch Blast being the main one, obviously, because it's a cantrip that's very freaking good. And then this is optional, but I have my Warlock here as a Speaker with the Dead. You don't have to do this. I just chose to do it because Speaking with the Dead is very useful in this game. If you have a character that can do it, whether it's through an item like this, or if they have the ability to do so, like Clerics can do it if you want to lock the ability. You know, I believe Wizards, actually Warlocks can, I think, can do this too, with locking abilities they want. And Sorcerers and Wizards definitely can. So without necessarily you having to use this amulet, but I chose to put it on him. Completely optional. Don't have to have it on him at all if you have another character that can speak with the dead. And I give him light crossbow because I want to give him a ranged weapon to utilize. You know, even though he has Eldritch Blast as a very good one to utilize, and technically don't necessarily need to put this on him. I just put it on there because I feel like every class needs to have like a ranged weapon or should have one just in case, because there's situations where, you know, you might be debuffed by the enemy and can't use your magical spells. That does happen in this game. So for those situations, that's why I have the light crossbow. I added on to him because in case I can't use Eldritch Blast with him, because, you know, even though it's a cantrip, it's technically a spell. So if I can't use my spells or I can't use my cantrips for some reason, bam, got the light crossbow to use. Just a suggestion, you don't have to do that. Up to you on that playstyle, as long as you're sticking to the core of the Pyro Warlock, I should say, of the build. So yeah, that is level 3 build, as you can see here. And like I said, don't worry about it if you got default gear mostly until you get the haste helm or better, you know, light armor for him, or, you know, foot armor, like that. And just, you know, up to you on the jewelries here you pick here as well too early on. You know, if you want to maybe do Mage's Friend on him instead of your cleric or whatever other spellcast build you got. I got this on Shadow RC, but if you want to put on him, that's fine too. Up to you with that. And like I said, you know, get a better version of your common rapier or whatever you decide to go with. That's really good with him. Just pay attention to his proficiencies, okay? Hopefully this was helpful to you. Hopefully this was very helpful to you guys and you enjoyed this. If you did, drop a like, subscribe if you're new, hit that bell for notifications so you stay up to date on all my content. I'll be bringing you some more Baldur's Gate 3 build videos, other variations of these subclasses and classes in general. That can be very cool to showcase, and, you know, this be cool as hell to play as. I can't wait. It's exciting stuff. I got the level 9 version, level 12 version coming soon, you guys. Give me time to get that done. Also some other guide videos to help you out better understand the game and things about the game, because I know it's a ton of information to absorb with this game. As always, thanks again for watching. I'll see you next time.